Okay. So, Yuval, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I don't see you though. I still see the old ones, Willem.
I can see myself.
Ah, now I see you. Now I see, well, I see you. Oh, well, it's very nice hanging out on the beach.
Yeah. I mean, in order to take us into the
mood, yes.
mood.
Yeah, but there's no social distancing there, I'll point out. So the last plenary is sort of it's sort of looking to the future, and in that respect, we wanted to invite Yuval to say a few words and welcome us to the next next symposium, which is actually going to be joint with CASPT, which the academics know, but you might say a few words about. So turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. First, I would like to congratulate Amer, Brendon, the team for a really great workshop, especially during this challenging time. I think it was nicely executed, very interesting. So maybe because of the webcast configuration, you cannot hear the applauses, but I think that was really great. And thank you very much. And as you can see in my background, this is the Tel Aviv beach. I'm not there at the moment, of course, because first of all, it's late at night. Yeah, social distancing. But even though in Israel, it's okay to go to the beach, supposed to be safe. Anyway, I'll put on the presentation. See if it's okay. I hope you see my presentation. And indeed, on behalf of Avi and Oded, I would like to welcome everybody to attend the next year symposium, both CASPT and TransitData. It will be in Tel Aviv in Israel, slightly later than usual in October because of the weather. And as during the beginning of the workshop, discussed about the previous versions of the workshop, you can see the 14 previous conferences of CASPT that were held around the world. And of course, the next one hopefully will be in person, regular version in Israel. You can see where it is on the map. And I would like to start with a 3 minutes virtual visit, as it was also during this workshop, just to have a taste of Israel.
Start
Okay, I hope you enjoyed this short clip. And Israel is quite a small country, so you can see on the map, you can reach most of the destination within less than a day, maximum 4 hours from Tel Aviv. There are frequent flights from Europe. It's 4 hours on average from the eastern coast of the US. From the airport, it's about 30 minutes to the Tel Aviv. And of course, it's a nice tourist destination, the Holy Land, nature, history, culture. So there's more things to do aside from being on the conference. Consider yourself a startup nation. There are lots of high-tech industry, some related to transportation, like Waze, acquired by Google, Mobileye, and Moveit, which recently also is acquired by Intel. Moveit is one of the popular transit trip planners. Via one of the DRT providers in terms of algorithms, so it's a provider, and also Electron, which is a quite a new company that develops dynamic wireless charging, especially for buses and trucks. So there are many things, many companies that are related might also take part on the conference. As I said, the conference will take place in Tel Aviv, Yafo, which is Israel Economic and Technological Center. This is the largest metropolitan area, nice weather, nice tourist destination. It's called the North City because it's 24/7 hours active around the clock. It's also named the White City. It's the home of the largest concentration of Bauhaus architecture. Very nice to see the buildings. Maybe one of them you could have seen on the clip. The intended venue, it's only intended because we had to stop negotiation because of the condition, but it's supposed to be this one called the Harrods Hotel. It's on the beachfront in the center of Tel Aviv, so it's highly accessible, near restaurants, other popular things, and it will be supposed to be a really nice place to host the conference. The program highlight, it's following a bit, I think, the good CASPT in Santiago. In Israel, by the way, the week starts on Sunday, not Monday. So the first day of the week will be sort of an optional tour. And then the conference will be on Monday and Tuesday. We'll have a break for a day trip. And then we'll conclude on Thursday with also technical visits, for instance, the Tel Aviv new LRT metro site and other optional visits. Last thing to talk about is the call for papers. This year or next year, we are introducing 2 alternative tracks. Aside from the regular extended abstract track, we also welcome full papers to submit from the beginning the full paper. And that because we have agreed with the Transportation Research Part C and Transport Policy for special issues, meaning that full papers will be enjoying a faster review process because the first round will be considered for the second round. But you can see, aside from public transport, which is usually the host for papers, we'll have 2 additional journals that already agree for that. So with that, I'll conclude and welcome you again. See you soon in CASPT TransitData 2021 in Israel, hopefully in person. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Yuval. It's hopefully we'll be back to some sort of new normal by then. So,
yeah, that's the idea.
I noticed the LRT in the video.
Yes, the Jerusalem one. Yes.
Would be nice to see that. Okay, final thoughts. We thought we'd have give the occasion to ourselves and to Nigel, since now Nigel started off the ball rolling, and we'll start with any thoughts he has either about the conference or about the future or anything he wants to talk about.
Okay, thank you very much, Brendon and Amer. Yeah, I'd like to say a few things. First of all, I'd like to echo what Yuval said about congratulating both of you, Brendon and Amer, for pulling off an amazing virtual conference. I mean, I think there's a tremendous amount of value that has come out of this, both in terms of a template about how to do this sort of virtual conference very effectively, and other ideas that that you've introduced through the necessity of doing this as a virtual conference that I think have a lot of merit for continuing. I think the mix of the plenary sessions and the parallel sessions with the lightning presentations, I think has been brilliant. I think it's been a great success. And having the longer presentations accessible to people who are interested in a topic or multiple topics to go and explore them in their own time, I think it's just a really, really good idea. So I know you pulled this all together in the last couple of months, which is just incredible. And I think it really does present a template for how to get more value out of traditional conferences. I mean, I suspect the reality is that while everyone would like to be attending in-person conferences around the world, including the CASPT TransitData conference that Yuval just described just over a year from now, I think for many reasons, both budget constraints, getting travel approval, as well as the concerns with international travel, there may be many people who wouldn't be able to get to any particular conference, including, unfortunately, CASPT and TransitData. So I think a challenge that Yuval and Oded and Avi have is how to capture some of the very successful elements of the virtual conference that you just put on in the context of a combined CASPT TransitData conference, which, again, we've only had one of these before, the one in Brisbane 2 years ago now, and this will be the second one, which is clearly a combined one. Just to sort of put this in context, I know most of us are familiar with, but just to review it, as Yuval said, CASPT is a conference that goes back, 45 years to the first one, so it's a long series, typically every 3 years. And TransitData started just 6 years ago, and we felt several times over that time that it's such a dynamic field moving so rapidly that it made sense to have these conferences every year. And I think the success of this conference just justifies and validates having this as a continuing annual conference, which again, every 3 years will be aligned with CASPT, and the alternate 2 years will be a standalone conference like this one was. So I think it's a great model. I think you and Amer, Brendon and Amer, have done a fantastic job getting this mix of practitioners, industry, and researchers, academics together. The fact that in that first poll and on the first day, there was just about a 50-50 match, and there were actually more non-academics if you include the consultants on that side of the ledger. Some of them may feel they're more appropriately classified as researchers, but who knows, we won't go there. But anyway, I think that's a tremendously valuable attribute of the TransitData series that you've really reinforced and brought to a real sharp edge in this particular offering. And I hope that, again, Yuval and Oded and Avi, as they do the design on this, even looking aside from the possibility that pandemics may still be going on or may be recurring, which may affect travel, I think finding a way of involving the industry at a serious level in this, particularly in the TransitData side of the ledger, as opposed to the more researchy CASPT sort of more methodological papers. I think that would be a fantastic thing to achieve. And again, I want to compliment both of you, Brendon and Amer, for having pulled this off so effectively. I think that, so that's sort of looking back at the last couple of days and looking ahead to the future ones. I think one of the things that inevitably is lost in a virtual conference is you don't get as much mingling around the fringes of the activities. Again, you did a great job putting on these outside the session activities, which were, I think, really, really good and helpful, but it's inevitably, you can't get the shoulder rubbing, even if social distance is not an issue, that you have in a physical conference. So I think going forward, the challenge will be, and maybe Yuval and Oded and Aviv will take this on next year for the combined conference, is how to have both a physical conference, a hybrid form, where you have a physical conference which doesn't include everyone, but everyone who wants to participate that can't be there has the opportunity of accessing it virtually. And I think that's another challenge, but you've made a really good foundation on which to build that, which I think is probably the ultimate, not just for this series, the TransitData and the CASPT series, but also for many conferences. I think the reality is international travel. I think Juanca made this remark when we were originally talking about whether to postpone this or hold it as a virtual conference, that I think Juanca was one of the ones who said, well, realistically, it's getting more and more difficult to travel to all the conferences you would like to attend. And so having you blaze the trail the way you have so effectively as a virtual conference, I think is a really important step forward for conference and academic research gatherings, particularly those that involve practitioners as well as this has so effectively. So again, that's really all I want to say. I think it's been a fantastic 3 days, and my hat's off to you, to both you and Amer, for pulling this off. It's incredible.
Thank you, Nigel. Blushing here, but just a quick thing. We did have some concepts for Slack rooms and stuff to get a mingling. We know their methods. We just couldn't put it in, 10 weeks for everything, and we were scrambling to get the last pieces in place. So, but yes, there are other things that could be done. It could be even better. So, Amer, up to you. Are you muted? You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a great experience and a great honor to really work on this daring project, should I say, because we decided really, with encouragement of the scientific committee, we decided to go virtual. And
strong encouragement.
It's very strong encouragement. Yeah, I'm gonna come to that later. But it's been a great experience. In all honesty, I think working with Brendon and also working with the team, I'm going to acknowledge them by name very shortly. But it's been a great experience, and I've been attending all previous TransitData symposia, and we see really the growth of research in this area, and to our really great surprise and also pleasure to see this year really this great contributions from the industry and very innovative work that's been done around the world. And we've been very fortunate to really host it in our event here and to see what's going on. And I give credit to Brendon really for pushing this from last year. And I think he succeeded convincing many of us to have a balanced forum. And I think all of us really see the benefit of that over the past 3 days. So thanks, Brendon, for that. And also, I should say also, I think certain features of this event about really not only technical work, but also all the issues and challenges that come with data in terms of organization, standardization, new sources of data, and so on, I think added so much value, I think, to the discussion and to the way forward. I think all of us are leaving this event with much more knowledge and information about really issues that sometimes, especially us as academics, don't really pay so much attention to. We're very quick and interested in really just cranking up models and sophisticated models, but there's so much really more that goes beyond just building those models and using them. There's really the whole issue of how you can transfer those models to other areas and other places, and of course comes in really the issue of data standardization and management and storage and of course privacy and all those things. So it's I think it's been a great feature, and I hope really we continue those aspects and discussing them in future events as well. Before I turn it over to Brendon, I have a very short presentation, or a few slides, all really them acknowledging the people who've been helping us in this event. So I'm just going to share my screen. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so first, of course, I would like again, as we started the event, we thank them, but we also thank them one more time, our sponsors, SEMA Plus, CSCAD, and Giro. They have shown great support. Even after we decided to move online, they were quite supportive, and we are very thankful and grateful for their generous support. Next, our scientific committee, very distinguished panel of academics from around the world who've been actually trailblazing this effort from 6 years ago. They got together, they had really the foresight to bring this forum together. It started, as I mentioned, at the beginning of the conference in 2014 in Gifu, and it had only grown from since then. And those are the people really behind it, and those are also the people who really gave us the encouragement, and also to give them all credit, they actually offered, I'm sure, very genuine help and support. They offered their assistance, and they offered advice and tips throughout the process. So thank you all. I'm not going to be able to thank them all by name, but and unfortunately, I'm missing some of the pictures of them, but many of them are with us in this session. Next, so Brendon and I co-chaired, and I would like to acknowledge really Brendon. He's been the main architect of this. He's put a lot of thought and effort into this, so all credit to him. Pat Doherty, who's helped in, I can't really enumerate them, but she really was pretty much really the driver and driving force really behind our committee. She solved so many problems. She's the one who replied to all your emails. So she's been a tremendous help, and for that, I can't really thank her enough. Willem Klumpenhauer, who's a new, just 3 or 4 months at PAL, at Transit Analytics Lab. He's a postdoc, but he's our Zoom administration genius. He's been really behind setting up the whole Union Station page and the whole setup really for Zoom webinar. So in addition to many other things, but that's one of the things. So again, thank you so much. Siva Srikokanthiran, who was with us from day one, is actually the designer of the logo that you see here, and helped with so many other things as well. So this is the team that really was behind this event, that worked tirelessly over the past 2 months to but really the heroes to us, this talented group of graduate students who worked so many hours and tireless nights, sleepless nights, putting together all those videos that you've watched. So much passion and creativity that we've seen through those videos of those individuals. So I can't really thank them enough for everything they've done up until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. last night. They've been working so hard on the videos. So I can thank you so much. Not only the videos, but also hosting the Zoom webinars, they've been actually working with Willem on being hosts of the webinars, as well as the interactive program, and so many other things that they've helped out with. So thanks so much. You guys have been tremendous. So with this, I finish my closing remarks, and I'll turn it over to Brendon to make the official closing remarks of the event.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to, well, thank you, Amer. Let me see, I do want to share my, do you want to continue? Can you close your PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'm trying to find.
Because I have, he dangerously gave me the last word. That wasn't supposed to be the plan. But I'll just make sure I can do this. Share. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Oops, let me just, okay. Not sure I could share both at the same time. I'm very impressed. The number of people still hanging in is the same as this morning. So that's really remarkable. I've been in many conferences, and normally, it's a skeleton crew by the end. So I will just trying to see if I can share the screen, but I don't want to mess up anything at the last minute. Some final thoughts. I thought having the last word, I did want to put a little thought into this, and just I'm going to run through a little historical arc, and then I've 5 thoughts that I want to comment on. But I do want to echo, it's been a pleasure working on this, and it's been really informative. I've learned a lot. It's been really amazing. I know we could have done other things, but in 10 weeks, that's what we could do. And it all came off because of all the team effort. So I want to sort of just give a very quick, most people that have been participating are very young. And so they don't really know the evolution. But AVL started back in the 1980s. And I actually am old enough to know that the organized a conference in 1988 where the first concept of using the data for planning and operations first came about. And from that, when I was at CUDA, managed to report on the use of AVL and APC data. So this is a report, this is from that report, 1991, of the kinds of information that some transit systems were already gathering at the time. So you can see it's been a long, long haul. Now what we have is fantastic, but many agencies are still struggling with just even doing that. The symposium started in 2014. Nigel was really the driving force for that. And the core of the scientific committee were already involved. And the focus was primarily smart card data. Later on in the subsequent ones, it extended to AVL, APC. I'll just run through these. I will post the presentation. I'm not going to run through this, but there was a number of the early ones were focusing on methodological issues, especially a lot of work on how to do OD, origin destination matrix inference engines from smart card data. All sorts of interesting analyses from the kinds of places we've seen already, at this conference. Places like Polytechnique and Santiago, Chile, and Brisbane, and Kyoto, and Toronto, of course. But then we moved into more recent years into new horizons, use of passive data, behavior and disruptions, predictive analytics, moving beyond, looking at real-time operational control dashboards. And the newer ones from this symposium, linking performance to experience, social media data, how to interpret, to derive information from the data. Emotional behavioral is a whole new horizon that we've talked about, Genoa in particular. Deep learning, several people talked about that, AI, how we're going to use this massive data to do all sorts of interesting analysis. And then all the short-term responses, visualization, real-time efforts, dashboards to deal with the pandemic, and trying to encourage or try to deal with the safety of the passengers of transit. But also dashboards, quality control, data management, all those organizational issues that really make it challenging to take advantage of all these cool things. The linking performance and customer experience is something of particular interest to me. I'm glad we're finally starting to see this in big ways. This is a service quality cycle from a EU standard on quality of service public transportation from the now 15 years ago, or I think. And but again, we're getting to a way where we can actually look at performance and link it to experience through different sources of data, and this is really extraordinary. But I want to wrap up with 5 thoughts. The first one is something which is why I'm passionate about this, why when I taught U of T a course for 10 years, tried to convey that, I try to tell everybody, transit is unique. It's, you know, when you're in this business, it's not like working for a bank. It's really serving a fundamental need, and the pandemic has brought this to the forward, that how critical transit is for helping the disadvantaged, helping the critical elements, workers that have to get to their jobs to help everybody else. It's really put an emphasis on the equity. And I want to say the people that have come to this conference, it shows their dedication. I mean, you know, you can make a lot more money as a data scientist or even a master's, PhD in engineering in lots of other fields, including in particular IT and banks or other fields. But it's really something which I think is really unique, and it's become even more important in these difficult, challenging times. Second one is there are many practical challenges. We've talked about them. I was really happy. The reason I volunteered was sort of bring those forward, but and have a discussion to start with those. I didn't really put this forward, but I did a discussion paper in 2015, which actually summarized in 20 pages the long list of challenges, practical challenges, internal challenges, organizational challenges in trying to do to make use of this data and to really change the culture of the transit agencies. I'll try to figure out a way maybe to post this on the interactive web page. This is what we're trying to do all here. It's really trying to change the culture. As I mentioned in the beginning, transit is both labor intensive and operations driven, and that really makes it incredibly difficult and it's political in the sense that it's publicly funded and always has to strive to deal with the politics of getting enough funding. You add those 3 things together, it's really hard to set up a culture that's data driven, but this is what this is all about. This is how we're trying to look at not only the cool things you can do, but why do you want to do those cool things? How do they serve to improve the efficiency, the effectiveness, the safety of our passengers? This is the 4-tier, but we have challenges. This is the 4 tiers I talked about of how I see the industry. The cutting edge are the Transport for Londons, the MTRs in the world. The bottom level are those who are just in rural areas, small cities, never going to be able to change anything. Best practices, lots of people here, and it's really nice to see so many new faces. I mean, I knew a lot of the best practice or even cutting edge folks in North America, but I'm seeing all these people who registered. But, and there's a but, what we saw is that a small number of transit agencies would send a number of people, and then another group would send 1 or 2. But there are lots and lots of agencies that didn't send anybody. And I assume those are in that standard practice, satisficers, standard operating procedures sort of environment. We have a challenge to try to move, if we want to improve the industry, to move that 50%, reduce it, and move those people up to best practice. And the people who came into this, I think they got an enormous amount of value and thoughts and ideas and possibilities and things to think about. And so they're already in that movement towards best practice. But I have to also sobering thought, we invited personally all the AVL vendors to participate. Of all the 250 participants, there is one representative from a vendor. And there's a very small number of consulting firms that are all on the cutting edge. Many of them were presenting, but that's what, half a dozen, maybe 10, out of all the consulting firms that do business in the industry. We've got a lot of work to do to try to change this outcome and make it really best practice kind of industry. And we didn't talk about this, but a lot of it really comes down to the senior policy boards and senior management aren't really into data. They don't, that's not the way they function. They don't understand technology. So we've got to make more effort to improve those use cases, look at those data management challenges, and facilitate technology transfer. Fourth thought, got to start thinking about the future. As much as this has been really amazing to see how much things have changed, or at least in a certain number of agencies, this is all just internal to transit. In the future, we're moving to a world that is going to explode with data. Fixed route versus demand responsive, public transit versus micro transit private firms, where data is an enabler, but the access is really challenging. Multimodal transit traffic data, integrated corridor management. We don't have the frameworks for these things. Connected vehicle data, the amount of data that's going to come from developments of connected and automated data. And then smart cities, where you're talking about even beyond transportation to include health and security and all those sorts of other aspects that the broader communities are involved in. And the fifth thought I want to leave with you with, so I think the future is really exciting. It's after all these years of monitoring the situation, I think this has been really exciting to see how much things have changed and are changing. And I want you all to go back home with that thought in your minds. So on behalf of the entire team, I want to wish you to thank you and to stay safe. Thank you. Goodbye.